and gentlemen, welcome yet to another episode of The Scoop. Today, my guests, I'm so excited because both David and Rose Ewagata are in the studio today. These people, if you've not heard of them, you will hear of them very soon. They are people who are doing mighty things in our city and abroad, even out of the nation. You will hear great things coming from them. You are in for a treat. Stay tuned. God bless you. Pasi and Rose, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You found time to come on the show today.
Thank you.
I know we are in for a treat. I'm so excited. Where do we begin? Where did you guys hook up? Where did you guys hook up?
Oh, well, it all started in 1974 when a little boy was born somewhere in Pumwani. But let's skip that and come to, so I got saved in Form 1.
Okay.
And almost immediately after that joined...
What school?
I was in Patch but let's not go into details. It was a patch, all the same. We used to call it Patch
Nairobi school.
Nairobi Milimani. There was Nairobi school and then there was Nairobi Milimani.
Okay.
Nairobi Milimani was kind of like the wannabe Nairobi school. But happened to Pahali nilijipata, so by the grace of God. But it was a good thing because when I went to that school, that's where I met Christ.
Okay.
And so I gave my life to Christ in the first or second week of high school.
Oh, wow.
And a good friend of mine picked me up and brought me into the music scene, started, getting me to sing. And I grew in the worship ministry from there.
It's hard to believe. You sang.
I actually did everything, including directing concerts and everything.
You still sing?
I still do, but not as
maybe towards the end of the show.
We will do something. Interesting thing that after high school now I got more engaged in worship. And so in one of the auditions we were doing, Rose showed up, and that began the new story of my life. Things have never been the same since,
you were the music director.
I was the music director. I was doing auditions, and so she did very well, and I decided, let me take the choir home. And so since then, the worship team is part of my family. Hallelujah.
Rose.
Yes.
Tell us your bit.
My version.
Your version.
Yeah, there's two versions. I grew up in Langata.
Okay.
An only child to my parents.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yes.
All right.
And we moved to Isli.
Okay.
And so we're looking for a church to settle and that was straight after high school. So after being actively involved in high school and in the Christian Union.
What high school?
Moi Forces Academy,
right.
Lanet. It's not a wannabe anything.
Okay.
It's okay. Group of schools.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up in an army barracks.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up in Moi Forces Academy.
Right,
so after high school, they tell you, out there, go there and make a difference, connect, don't lose your faith. So I was looking for a church.
Yes.
And I ended up in Deliverance Church Isli.
Okay.
And I think the first day I went, it was a youth Sunday. Okay. They would have a youth week, so the youth Sunday. Okay. And then the youth obviously were leading worship, they were leading the service. Yes. And this young man was leading worship.
Right. So he does sing.
He does sing. Actually, there are people who know him as a worship leader, not as a pastor.
Serious? That's amazing. Okay.
Yes. So I was also in the worship ministry right from high school and even primary school. As far as I can remember, I've been singing.
Okay. And when did you say you got saved?
I got saved when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
So pretty young.
Wow.
I grew up in the church.
Yes.
And a Sunday school teacher led me to Christ.
Oh, wow.
That's how my encounter with Christ came. And then after that, I went to high school.
Yes.
And of course, you are encouraged to join the Christian Union and was very actively involved. So I've been in active ministry from a very young age.
Okay.
So I went to church. It was youth week. They were leading. David was leading worship there.
Yeah.
But the time I really encountered him, that was memorable for me was...
Wait for it.
when there was an invitation for young people to go for a retreat. So this was my first encounter with the youth there. So I was the newbie, just coming in. So I decided, let me go for this retreat and see how this youth ministry works. And yeah, that's when I encountered David Ewagata. He was loud. He was,
Obnoxious.
he was like goofy. Those kinds of guys who are all over the place.
Yeah.
And in my heart of hearts, I'm thinking, oh man, this guy, like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Like, can't he just chill?
Just chill out.
Yeah, like he's so loud. He's all over the place. So I was not impressed.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, can he just, keep quiet or something?
It was my JD. It was a job I was given, man, and they were paying me well.
So that was my first impression until now. The desire to join the worship team, and they announced an audition, and I decided, let me show up. And then guess who I meet as one of the judges in the audition? Mr. David Ewagata there, and I passed with flying colors, needless to say. And the rest is history.
It all started at church.
Yes.
Yep.
And in ministry and music. Then you show up at this camp, and this guy is loud, obnoxious.
Yeah.
How did things turn around from there then for you?
I think the next Sunday after the retreat, I went back to church on Sunday, and he was leading worship. So for me, it was like, okay, there's actually like this guy is serious. Like he has another side to him, apart from the goofy side, apart from that loud guy.
Yes.
And funny and all that.
There's more to him.
There's more to him. So I started now like paying attention and saying, okay, let me not dismiss this guy.
Yeah.
And then joining the worship team after that, we get to really interact more around music and art, the things that are of interest. He was doing his diploma in graphic design at that time.
Okay.
And I did fine art in high school. So there were quite a few things here and there that we were resonating over and shared interests.
Yeah.
But within a community of, people who serve together and around friends who are, around you. So it was really built around friendship. So I don't think we even thought anything at that time. If you had asked us if there was anything coming out of that, we would not have even thought about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just like pure friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the same for you? Were you saying only pure friendship?
Being a worship leader, you focus on the Lord. Things of this world you don't pursue.
Absolutely. Right.
We actually became very good friends, and I think because we had a lot of things that brought us in common, the music, the art. Just sharing our story. I'm a lastborn.
Okay.
So sharing the stories of being a lastborn, sharing the stories of being an only child. And we spent quite some while. I would walk her home from church and then make my way to my place. It was the opposite direction from my place, but hey, who's counting? Who's counting?
Yes. Being a perfect gentleman.
And so the friendship grew. Apparently at that time I was actually interested in somebody else. I wasn't even thinking in terms of her.
But you were walking her home.
Yeah.
It's free. It's free. It's a free country.
Right. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. So I think after a while, people began to just look at us and they're like, you guys, because we would lead worship together, and guys are like, I say the grace, you say amen, we have each other's compliment, and they're like, hey, the way this flow is going, this synergy is not for living on stage, this one is for taking home, and so actually the curiosity began from people.
Really?
About our relationship. Wow. And then now, I think I made an attempt at the other relationship, and it just nosedived. That's a story for another day. It needs a documentary tissue, and stuff like that. Tears are going to be flowing. Yeah. And so, short of it is, after almost 1 year of being good friends, we started going out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you dated for how long?
We dated for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
4 years before you decided this.
Yeah, we were young and broke. Yeah. She was young, I was broke. So it's most of the times it's like that. So I don't even know why it's funny. Yeah, but she was young, I was broke. Okay. So we dated for quite a while. Yeah. And then we broke up in our 4th year, actually, around about the 4th year. Yeah. I wanted to actually confirm if this is really the one, or should I wait for another.
So you broke it off.
So I broke it off. Me, I was just saying I'm taking a break, but you know how she had breakup.
No.
Yeah,
It's
when
over.
When you've been dating for 4 years, you don't
Yes.
say I'm taking a break.
It was.
And
Well,
then-
I know
and
it's
then
not
you can't
understandable,
say,
Yeah,
but inside in my head, it's actually
And then it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, you were wearing
Really?
all
it was
those-
making sense in my head. I went and visited all the girls who had ever shown interest in me.
It's been 4 years. You had to go on.
Let me go and do this
Telling you.
reko.
And so what
Reke.
happened?
They call it the reke. I did the reke. I checked. I was like, Then I came back.
Yeah.
Sema, nimetafuta milima mabonde nisikupata.
You're crazy. You're still the same way.
So I came back after 8 months.
8
It was 8 months breakup.
And what were you doing at that time?
Well,
Mostly crying.
I cried a lot. I think it was sort of a testing ground for how serious are we on this,
Yes.
and then just going back to God and saying, Lord, what's the plan? Like we've enjoyed the company, we've enjoyed the synergy, we've enjoyed the attraction, we've enjoyed being together and hanging out and
Yes.
doing a lot of things
Yes.
together and the friendship and all. But is this it? Is this the one that leads to marriage and a lifelong commitment?
Yes.
So because we were young, we needed to have a clearer understanding of what marriage and that commitment really looks like and what it entails. So I think God in his wisdom just put a pause for us so that we can go back and really think through this.
Absolutely.
So that we're not just going by our emotions or by our feelings, but that we've really heard from him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because as you know, marriage has its challenges, has its ups and downs.
Yes.
So if you're not really committed, if you're not really prepared to face it all,
And if you're not sure it's
and
the
if
Lord.
you're not sure this is the direction, it's very easy to bolt out and say, oh, I changed my mind. It's
Absolutely.
I didn't hear well, or whatever. So I think it was great for us to go through that. Although at that time, if you had told me that,
You were not
I would
really-
not have
So
heard
is it true
you.
you spent your time crying?
Yes, I
She's
did.
still crying even now.
She can't believe you came back. Is that what it is?
You're still back 20 years later.
Oh God.
You're so
Yeah.
funny. So fast forward, you come back after 8 months.
Yeah.
When did you get married?
So when I came back, I was gunning down the aisle. I was like, if I'm coming back to marry you, I'm not coming back to see if, because I
So
went.
You were the one who was driven to getting married. It wasn't.
I mean, it was, my target to get married was 26.
Okay.
So this was about 24 going 25.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to meet goals, Millennium Development Goals, MDGs were coming up. And so one, it was basically to just make sure that forsaking all others, having checked all others.
Yes.
2, yes,
Absolutely.
yeah, it was a long treatment. There were many girls. 2, it was just to pray about it and be sure that this is the Lord's leading. 3, also there was a struggle, and this is many young people think when pastors are getting married, they just look at the sister and all they see is the Spirit of the Lord upon them.
A halo.
Yeah, and a halo, and she's just fearfully and wonderfully made according to the Lord. But she's a beautiful girl.
Yes.
And so I'm like, wow, the pressure for messing up. And so, and we had agreed on this, and we said, if anything is ever to come between our relationship and God, I mean, between our relationship with God, and this relationship dies.
Yes.
And so when we realized we are struggling with our physical intimacy, we said no. I was like, I'd rather lose you than mess you up.
Absolutely.
And so those were the reasons that basically pushed us to that place where you were like,
This was when you were 24.
yes.
You were thinking so focused at 24.
Yes, only your worship leaders, we are very deep people. Unajua. Tuko kama daktari. I think just the sensitivity of serving in the worship ministry gave us an edge. And many of my friends were older than me.
Okay.
Both of us,
Yeah.
most of our friends were older than us. So it even lent to the fact that we got married much younger than many of our peers.
Okay.
And so spiritually we had grown. We were serving, we grew up under Reverend Paul Akata. So you can imagine, Deliverance Church, Bishop William to missing. There's nothing like shallow end. You're either in there, or when you walk in, the pastor just says, I sense you have not prayed enough for this service. And so there's nothing like shallow end. And so it gave us maturity in our faith.
And just being
Yeah.
around couples
Yes.
who
Absolutely.
were there to support the young people in the church.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
really built us a lot, and they challenged us not just to focus on relationships and friendships, but to also deepen our faith.
Yes.
And they were there to support and speak into those issues. And every time, they spoke into every issue that a young person is facing.
Wow.
If you're, infatuated or you're having a crush, or they would help you sort of decipher this.
Yes.
Is this real? Is this going anywhere?
Absolutely.
Is this just, what about, And it really helped us. It deepened us in many ways and helped us to really make better choices and decisions in life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you make the decision, you're going down the aisle. What year was that?
That was 1999. So end of 1999, we say we are going. I came back and I told her, you know what, this is it. We are going all the way. What do you think? And I think that, and of course, there was contending voices. Guys are like, how can he break your heart? And then now he's coming back and da da da. But by the time I was coming back, it was do or die.
Yeah,
And so we talked, and she said yes. I was going to study for a couple of months out of the country. But I told her, you know what, even as I travel, we'll keep the ball rolling. Tell my parents, and being a last born, you can imagine telling your parents. And I think that time only my elder sister was married. My other sister was not yet married, and I'm this little kid who was, all the signs of, confusion, and when guys see us at this time, they think, Mazepa, you're so organized, my friend. And those guys who your mom wakes up in the morning, before you wake up, she's already held her head. She's like, what is he going to do today? And so I tell my parents I want to get married, and they think you're joking. Whose daughter do you want to take through your life? But I was serious. I told them, and then we began the conversation, and they knew her because she's actually been part of our family in many ways over the years. And so my mom knew her, my dad knew her, my sisters knew her. And so we set it up, began the journey, and in March of 2000, we got married. So we celebrated our 20th anniversary.
This year.
Congratulations.
Last
During
month
COVID.
to the quarantine.
My goodness, 20 years.
Yeah.
Kids.
We have 3 kids.
So what are you doing?
Yeah. Our firstborn is 14 years old.
Wow.
So we had him.
He got married.
We got married, and then 4 years later.
We got married.
We got married,
our
then
first
4
born.
years later we had
So you had
Nathan.
4 years of just...
We went Bible
Yes,
school.
we went to school.
You went to school?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
when
we
we
went
went
to
to do our theological
Wow.
studies.
Okay,
Yes.
so you left the country for 4 months
Yes.
before getting married?
Yes.
Or you're still
Then came back. Did the preparations for the wedding and everything. We got married in March. In September, we were in class. We were
Both of
classmates.
you?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
both
were
of us.
classmates. Singeacha mtu asumbue
Wow.
bibi yangu.
Okay, so you guys
So-
decided
Yes.
you need to expand your vision.
She always wanted to go to Bible school. Me, I was fine. Education is not everybody's strength.
But you accompanied her.
But I escorted her to
We
school. Yeah,
decided
it was
to take me to
yeah.
school.
4 years together.
4 years.
Yes, so we
4
did
years
the
of
undergrad 4 years. Finished, had Nathan, and then went and did our masters. Finished, had Jeremy. Then we went to Rwanda. When we were just about finishing, had Zoe. So
at every point of finishing,
every degree
is,
has a child.
You build an altar. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yes, we set up,
What are you
we
guys
set
about
up
to
a
finish?
remembrance.
No, we're not finishing anything else. We are focused now. We're
Finish
focused.
up. Jesus' name.
Hey, we're finished, man. If somebody else can I'd better feel the earth.
Wow.
If it's
I
not
think
full.
the significant thing about that is that starting off, we were young, so we had time to sort of figure out what is it that we would want to do as a couple,
Yes.
and what is our mission. So setting it up was easier for us rather than when you meet and you're going different directions. So we sort of agreed on the direction we want to go for, and it was ministry. We realized, no, we are very passionate about serving the Lord. We're passionate about young people. We are passionate about worship. So this is our call. This is our call, not just as individuals, but as a couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what sort of drove us into that direction. I mean, he took a while before he caught on, but I said, I'm gonna go for
Yes,
it.
yes.
And then he joined. Yeah.
He came along. At
He
some
came
point.
along.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.